Jesus was on vacation. Yes, even God needs a vacation occasionally. He was on vacation. He had left Galilee and he had gone north into what is today the country of Lebanon. He's in the neighborhood of a little Mediterranean town called Sidon. Completely outside the Jewish sphere of knowledge and connection. He was on vacation. He had the disciples with him. Time to breathe, time to eat, time to sleep, time to think. It was rich. So, Jesus and the disciples come out of the door one morning, and there is somebody there at the door, waiting. Jesus carefully ignores this woman. The disciples also carefully ignore her, but she does not ignore them, of course. She hollers, "Sir, sir, have mercy. Messiah, have mercy." Jesus pays no attention. I imagine, remember, he's on vacation. So if it was nowadays, phone rings, caller ID, no, I don't recognize that number. It goes to voicemail. Phone rings again, same number, I still don't recognize it. Send it to voicemail. He's on vacation. And even God occasionally needs a vacation. We read in the Gospels that when Jesus was on task, at times he was so frantically busy that his family worried that he would have a collapse. At one point they planned to take him by force and haul him off for some R&R because there was no time to eat, no time to sleep. So here Jesus is doing the responsible thing. He's going away, he's taking his disciples away so that they can be spiritually rejuvenated, so that he can give them the kind of instruction and they can do the kind of processing that you can only do in a more focused environment when you're not surrounded by thousands of people. So they head down the road and the woman follows them. "Sir! Sir! Please have mercy. Help me." They keep walking. And the disciples are going, "Whoa, we've never seen Jesus do this before. That we're okay with it. We're really okay with it. This is fine. I mean, she looks like kind of a scary person anyway." They keep walking. They get to a restaurant. They stop and they have tea. They come out. She's there. And finally the disciples say, "Jesus, look, you got to do something. This woman's driving us crazy." So Jesus finally turns to her and says, "I'm sorry, honey, but we're on retreat. And besides, my job, given to me by God, is to take care of the lost sheep of the house of Israel. You're not one of them." Now, she understands exactly. The Jewish religion was well known all over the Mediterranean world at that time. At that time, there were actually Jewish missionaries going everywhere. Every city had Jewish missionaries sharing the good message that God had given his people and inviting people to convert, become Jewish. That's not part of Jewish culture now, but at that time it was. It was very evangelistic. So this woman knew about this, and she understood his language. My message is for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. It is for Jewish people, not Sidonian pagans. They keep going, but it doesn't work. So Jesus finally says, "Look, lady, if I help you, that would be like taking the children's dinner and throwing it out to the dogs." Now, I need to, forgive me, but I'm going to mess with scripture here. Because when I say take the kids' food and give it to the dogs, some of you would be going, "Well, duh, why wouldn't you do that?" What, last weekend we had the Seattle Kennel Club dog show, right? 7,000 people came to watch dogs. Now, in Jesus' day, if they had a dog show, 7,000 people would not have shown up. 7 people probably wouldn't have shown up. Dogs were nothing in that society. You know, they were maybe a little bit above Norway rats in our society, but only marginally. I finally figured out what they were. They're the pigeons of that society. Jesus is saying, I wouldn't take the children's dinner and throw it out for the pigeons to eat. And the disciples are sitting there going, whoa, Jesus, you're dishing it. Man, we've never seen this before, but you're right. I mean, she's been annoying us. We came up, who told her we were here? She looks scary. Jesus says, I wouldn't take the children's dinner and throw it to the pigeons. And the woman comes right up to Jesus and said, that's true. I get it. That's true, sir. But sir, even a poor man, even a stingy man, would not begrudge the pigeons crumbs that were going to go down the garbage disposal. And finally Jesus cracks. He goes, woman, you're amazing. Your faith is amazing. Wow. And then he says this. I'm not sure if there's any other place in the Scripture that has words like this, addressed from someone representing heaven to someone representing earth. Jesus says to this woman, may it be for you as you wish. Today we're looking at the Beatitudes. Blessed are the merciful, they will receive mercy. What does it mean to receive mercy? To get what you want. She begins the story by crying, Lord, have mercy. And the story ends with Jesus saying, may it be for you as you wish. Blessed are the merciful, they will receive mercy. What do you want? Now in religious circles, often we would identify our deepest desire, the thing we want above all others, to know that we have the approval and favor of God. And for those of you who grew up in Adventist circles, especially if you are of a certain age, you can remember years of being terrified that you would never have God's approval, never have God's favor. It was an impossible dream. What do you want? And if you'd said, man, I'd just like to know that I'm okay with God. How do you get that? Wow. Well, some Adventists discovered the answer to their hunger. In the 70s and 80s, we discovered the wonderful message of salvation by faith. Wow. So now instead of trying to be perfect, oh, that was impossible. Now all you have to do is believe. Which is good news for a little while. And then at some point you think to ask the question, well, just exactly how real does my faith have to be? How pure would a crummy, insincere faith work? Well, no. And you are right back to the point of insecurity. If the fundamental question for you in religion is, what do I have to do to avoid damnation? You will spend probably most of your life uncertain. Because it assumes that the default mode for humanity is bad news. God is ticked off at you. So you can try to be perfect and see if you can earn his favor that way. Or you can try to believe and have a faith that would work. But you're still up against this terrifying picture that damnation, that condemnation is the default. That's God's basic disposition. And so you're trying to come up with some way to dodge that. And you're never going to be quite sure that you've managed to get around the frown of God. What do you want? Would you like to know that you're okay with God? Would you like to know that damnation is not your destination? Lord, have mercy. The hunger of the human heart to know that they are not condemned is so deep that in one of the major Christian traditions, the phrase, Lord, have mercy, will be repeated 30 or 40 times in a service. And specialists in it will repeat it hundreds of times a day. And as long as it remains a request and not an affirmation, it is rooted in this picture of a God who frowns when he looks at earth. It's rooted in a picture of God that the disciples were cheering on that day when Jesus was interacting with that woman. You know, she was kind of weird looking. She was kind of scary looking. And she was annoying. And Jesus was sharing their viewpoint. And the disciples said, wow, this is pretty cool. You know, for once, Jesus is with us. He's looking at this scary woman and he's not having any of it. Fortunately, of course, Jesus didn't stay there. What does it mean to receive mercy? It means to receive what you want. Written deep in the heart of your being. And Jesus says, those who are merciful will receive mercy. Those who give what others need will receive what they need. I had a couple of conversations this week that to me painted a fresh picture of mercy, because to be merciful calls for more than just a good heart. Now, a good heart's essential, and it's perhaps the most difficult, but it also calls for wisdom. This week I had conversations with two women, two mothers, of men with severe disabilities. In both cases, the men are nonverbal. And in one case, the mother is a longtime friend of mine. She's talked about the agonizing challenge as a mother of providing appropriate care for an adult who cannot speak. So if her son is slapping the side of his head, does he have an earache? Is his head being ripped apart by an earache? I never had an earache. I think I had one once. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I think I fainted in the doctor's office. It was so bad. What if this woman's son has an earache like that and he can't say anything? So he's slapping his head, maybe. Or maybe he has an abscessed tooth. Maybe he has a headache. Maybe it's some kind of psychological problem. And here's mother wanting to provide for her son who cannot speak. It's very clear that his inability to articulate his pain makes it no less. His need for being voiceless is not at all less. And so, decades of caregiving and a mother's heart provide the guidance, and she does her best to interpret, and to respond, to provide mercy. We are surrounded by people who have needs, and some of them are as articulate as the mother in this story. They let you know what they need. Sometimes it's annoying too. And other people around you are as inarticulate as that mother's daughter. She probably could not speak. In the story, she is not even present. And so mother voices for daughter, Lord, have mercy. And sometimes that's where we're left. We can see the needs, or we can see there is a need and we may not even be able to make sense of it. Now here's one of them. I don't know if I can capture this. I began earlier talking about the human hunger for divine approval. And I talked about the reality that many of us in the Adventist world have hungered for a sense of approval that seemed distant. I have to laugh. I read a book recently about a particularly well-known evangelical college. Every student there knows for sure the wonderful message that the key to salvation is all you have to do is believe. And if you have believed once, you're good to go. The person writing this book and observing this culture said, since that's the doctrine, certainly I would expect to encounter a whole college full of kids who were absolutely confident and sure that they were connected with God. And he said it, and actually it was the opposite. They were eaten with anxiety. Anxiety is normal to the human condition. And whether you're a good old-time Adventist legalist or a good new-time evangelical, if you assume that the default position of God with his clipboard, that's it, and his red marker, oops, if that's God, I don't care whether you think faith or something else is going to get you out of it, you're probably not going to live in a place of confidence. What Jesus does with this beatitude is he pulls us completely out of that world. When you begin asking yourself about how to be merciful, you are pulled away from that view of the frowning God, because now you're being asked to cooperate with the smiling God. The reason you're showing mercy is because God is merciful. And so you're looking at this obstreperous, obnoxious, ornery person who's driving you crazy. And you're going, oh my. Is it possible to put anything good into this life? And when you begin living there, and you understand that you are actually asking that question with God, you begin living in the smile of God. And the question gets turned on its head. Because you are not more merciful than God. And when you find yourself caught up in the question of how can I give mercy, you know that God is asking that question louder and more wisely than you are. And you are the target of his mercy. When you give mercy, you have it. Blessed are the merciful. They will receive mercy. It's important to understand that mercy is our action to bless others without regard to what they deserve. It doesn't mean we're acting contrary to what they deserve. Sometimes we are, sometimes not. But it means that we have moved beyond the question of what do these people deserve from me. And we've asked a different question. Is there any way I can bless them? A healthy society has laws. It has a criminal justice system. There needs to be a respect for justice in a healthy society. No question about it. Given the nature of humanity, you need that. You need some structure. You need business structures. And in school, there need to be consequences if you study hard. Those are good consequences. And consequences if you goof off. Oops, those are not too much fun. I mean, you have to have justice for society to work. But if we worship at the God of justice, we can end up with a very ugly society. One of the institutional expressions of mercy in our culture, which I don't know that I ever really gave much thought to it until my son came back from another country and described life there a few years ago. If you're driving down Stone Way here and you see somebody in the gutter who apparently was just knocked over with a hit and run. You grab your phone, you dial 911. The ambulance will come. And whether he looks like a bum or looks like a saint, it doesn't matter. They're going to take him to the ER, and they will do what needs to be done to save his life. We'll work out the payment later. My son talked of living in a country where, in that same scenario, to start with, there is no 911. There's an ambulance if you can pay. And when you get to the hospital, before you can be admitted, you pay up front for the projected treatment. And if there's no payment, there's no admission. And it is not unheard of for people to die outside the hospital because the family did not have the money to provide the care. Philosophies derived from Ayn Rand imagine that the best society is one that is perfectly just. It's an impoverished vision of humanity. It is a bankrupt vision of community. Justice is important. Let's keep that clear. But in a beautiful society, it is not our highest value. In the text that Carl read for us, I love the way the King James it says, do justice. Well, the RSV, do justice. And then it says, but love mercy. Justice is important. Mercy is way more beautiful. And Jesus says, if you get caught up in the business of giving mercy, you will receive mercy. If you give blessing, you will receive blessing. We give without regard to what they deserve. That's the ultimate statement of mercy. I had to laugh this morning. Okay, so I worked hard on this sermon all week. I'm going to talk about this. And I come down the stairs, and Kim Gerlitz, I don't know why she did this to me. She kind of beckons me over. She handed off, can I say this, Kim? A problem. So there was somebody who needed some gas money. Church is a nice place to go to ask for help, right? And I know what's going through your head. Yeah, what is he going to do with that money? Is he really going to buy gas? Is he going to buy drugs? Is he going to buy alcohol? What's he going to do with this? And I'm laughing. I'm going, what a setup. Boy, this guy must have known what I was preaching on. How can I tell him no? So I gave him a few bucks. Now, don't think of me as generous. You guys are paying the $10, okay? So yeah, I gave him a couple of dollars, wished him well. But I was laughing. It's a lighthearted picture of what we're talking about. It would be very easy for us to have a conversation about what that person deserves. And we could actually go through a process to figure it out. I thought of going out and seeing if his gas gauge was really on empty. I mean, I've done that kind of stuff. And when I was in New York, we used to always have people with hard luck stories. And I don't mean to be dismissive of careful thinking about how we structure ourselves in responding to human need, okay? But it is a kind of comical, lighthearted picture of what we're talking about. Mercy gives on the basis of what they need, not on the basis of what they deserve. Blessed are the merciful. They will obtain mercy. My guess is that all of you, you know what? I forgot the choir today. You guys too. All of us probably can imagine someone in our life that would make us happier if they were a little more distant. There are people who are downright annoying, right? There are people who treat you and you find yourself going, why do they do that to me? I don't get it. I mean, I again, I need to qualify what I'm going to say. A little paragraph. If you're being abused, get help. If you're being bullied, tell somebody. Don't suffer alone and don't suffer lightly. If you're a victim of domestic violence, get out and get safe. Okay, I'm not talking about setting yourself up or leaving yourself exposed to damage. Having said that, 99.9% of us, the great challenge in our life is not how to deal with that kind of stuff, but it's how to deal with annoying people that we're related to, or we work with, or we go to school with, or go to church with. And when we face the challenge to do them good, a part of us is going, do them good? They don't deserve it. Who are they? And we are standing with the disciples as Jesus is talking to that woman going, honey, you're not on my list. God called me to serve the lost sheep of the house of Israel. You are a Sidonian, a pagan, a single mom, a loser. You probably did something bad. How did your daughter get possessed by a demon anyway? It's probably your fault. And we stand with the disciples, throwing accusations, throwing wise analyses. We got them figured out. The invitation from Jesus is to come and stand with him. And when we face people who are broken and who are annoying and whose needs are screaming, Jesus invites us to stand with him and say, may it be for you as you wish. Blessed are the merciful. They will receive mercy.